Hi, and welcome back to the Unconditional Media series on how to edit and add things to your new WordPress website. In the last video, we covered how to add blog posts. So if you missed that and want to learn how, feel free to just go back, and when you're done with that, you can just jump right back in. So today what we're going to go over is how to change some of the overhead settings that are global, or maybe like site-wide would be a better way to put it. Things like your logo, the way your header menu is designed, anything like that, anything that's going to affect the overall look of the entire website. So in order to do that, we're going to go over to the menu on the left here, and you'll see an option called Jupyter. And so when we go over here, we're just going to go to the theme options. And so you'll see a menu here called Global Settings. And here you'll be able to change your accent color, which might change some things like a button colors, something like that. So if you have a rebranding, this would be helpful to know. You don't really need to worry about anything like smooth scroll, go back to the top, stuff like that. Now, one thing that you will need to know in the future is changing your logo. So if you go over here, you'll see that we have our light logo and our dark logo and our sticky header logo. And all this means is say we had a black menu background, we would have our light logo showing up there. So we would put a white version of our logo here, and maybe we'd put like a black version of our logo over here, just in case we had a menu changing color on one of our pages and the menu is white, or anything like that. Typically, you're not going to see a big difference between like specific menu types, but occasionally, depending on what template you're looking at, it may be important to go ahead and include both a dark and a light logo in here. As far as sticky header logo goes, this is just the header that shows up when you're scrolling down the page. So maybe it's a smaller version of the logo or a different color, stuff like that. You can also change your favicon, which is just the icon that shows up on the tab side of the view whenever someone goes to your page from like a desktop. If you go over here to preloader, you have an option to add a preloader to your website, and all this is a cool little screen that shows up while your site is loading. We have this switched off as a default, but if you want to go back and switch it on, you're more than welcome to. And this is where you're going to find it. So quick contact, API integrations, you're not going to really mess with these too much. If you go over to main content, you're going to see, some different layout styles, and you're not really going to mess with this much either. Now, one thing you probably will either look at or consider changing is your menu types. So there's a couple of different menu types that you can choose from. You have all these options here. We typically default as the left aligned menu. And you'll probably not want to change this particular setting. Now, one thing that you may want to change in the future that's helpful for adding shout outs or new announcements to your website is if you turn this toolbar on. You see it's got this extra area here. You can either add maybe some social icons or an announcement here. Let me go ahead and turn this off, but I'm going to show you where you can add that toolbar information. So if you go down from header all the way to header toolbar, you'll be able to add an email address, a phone number, and a tagline, which is where you'd put your announcement. And when you have this turned on, it'll show across your whole entire site as like an additional mini menu. Other things to note are the page title. If you decide you want to display this or don't want to display this, you can toggle this on and off. You probably won't touch this, but it's good to know just in case. The typography is going to change your global typography unless something has been like hard set. So this is good to know, once again, if you have a branch change. And you can just choose the font that you want to use and say the case that you want it to be used in. So Oswald is going to be used for all heading 1s, all heading 2s, all global page titles, all blog and portfolio titles, and so on. And you can scroll down to the bottom to either add a new one, or you can edit them with this icon here. Scrolling back up, you can change your footer settings if you go to here. So you can either toggle on and off the footer display. You can toggle the sidebar display or add a new sidebar. You can toggle on and off whether or not you have the subtitle for your search bars or not. If you go down to the blog section, this is going to be important for whenever you have a blog on your website. So if you ever want to change the style of your blog post, you can go here and you can have, I think, a list of 3 different options. Well, we have 2 different options here. Clear and bold, traditional, compact. It just depends on the look you're going for, but you can change it here. There's a couple of other things you can change as far as like image cropping goes, whether or not the feature image displays, whether or not people are allowed to share your blog posts, stuff like that. If you have a portfolio, you can edit your portfolio settings here. And as far as advanced goes, I would stay away from touching this since you can make changes that would drastically affect the overall site design that you may or may not want. That's the gist of the global site settings. One thing to note is if you go to the Jupyter control panel, you'll see a couple of different options ranging from like template, icons, stuff like that. I would highly suggest against changing the template that you have. It's going to wipe everything on your current website. So definitely stay away from this section here, as tempting as it may be to change. And if you do change it, make sure you back up your website first. Alrighty, and that concludes this video on global site settings. Join us in our next video as we go over how to edit elements on a page. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at hello@unconditional.media.